Much has been said about the Power universe and characters in the Power world popping up in other spin-offs, and the most talked about character is 2-Bit due to his past history with Tommy Egan, but there is one character who has an even bigger history with Tommy, and that's Cooper Saxe. Cooper Saxe has had an obsession with catching the St. Patrick's and Tommy Egan ever since the beginning of Power, and he did an interview where he teased a potential crossover at some point, so I'm talking how this could happen. So let's roll the intro, then talk Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Book 4 Force crossovers.
I did that shit. Killed Angela, and you ain't never gonna get me for it. So adios, motherfucker.
So it's fair to say there is no love lost between these two characters. They have a deep history, and that dates back to the early stages of the original Power series, and I don't think these storylines are just over quite yet. So we're going to talk about why Cooper Saxe could cross over to Power Book 4 Force at some stage in the Power universe, why it could happen, how it could happen, and what it generally means for the Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Book 4 Force. So with that being said, make sure you watch this video till the end so you understand the background of Cooper Saxe and why his character could play a crucial role in the Power universe. But you're probably wondering what brought this video on and why I'm talking about a potential crossover with Cooper Saxe and him popping up in Power Book 4 Force, and it's all because of an interview that he did on Instagram Live with Tea with Tia, and it was a great watch because Shane spoke about a lot about Power, a lot about his character. So I'm going to link the Instagram Live down below, give Tia a follow as well, but I'm just going to pick some of the main key points in this video, especially something he mentioned with Tommy and a potential crossover. So what exactly did Shane have to say with a potential crossover into Power Book 4 Force? He said it would be cool if he bounced into other spin-offs, like if he managed to bounce into Tommy's show. That's actually a legitimate situation which very well could happen. Obviously I can't bounce into Kanan because that's a whole different deal, and for those who have been subbed to my channel for a while will know I've been saying crossovers is something that we should expect to happen, and this is something I really do think can happen. Cooper Saxe is one of the longest serving cast members on Power, and we've spoken about 2-Bit potentially joining up with Tommy at some point. Will it happen? But Cooper Saxe, he has this obsession. He's obsessed with the St. Patrick's and he's obsessed with Tommy Egan. So I really don't think a character like him can let something like that go. So let's talk about his obsession with the St. Patrick's first, then I'm going to come to his obsession with Tommy and why I think eventually he could find his way over and cross over to Power Book 4 Force at some point. Now let's rewind it all the way back to the early stages of Power, because Shane Johnson, Cooper Saxe, at the beginning explained that he was just started off as a normal ordinary guy, working an ordinary case. He thought that they were going to nail Ghost, but he slipped through his fingers. At numerous times Cooper Saxe throughout Power thought he got his man, but Ghost was way too good, and Cooper Saxe's obsession grew and grew, and it started to get personal for him because then Greg Knox was killed, Mike was killed, and then Angela was killed. We heard Donovan say this means more to Cooper Saxe because it's personal for him. He explained that justice system wasn't doing their job, so he thought he had to do it himself. He had to bring justice to Ghost himself, which is why we saw him head over there the night at Truth with a gun, and the added element that he was facing prison himself towards the end of season 6. Everything just became so personal for Cooper Saxe, and to this day he has always been right, but he's just never been able to prove anything, and this is why we started to see the unethical side to him. This is why we started to see him planting evidence, bending the law with the recording device, in effect actually turning into a criminal himself. He likened his weird obsession to the St. Patrick's and Ghost, in particular to Ghost and Angela's relationship. The way he explained it was perfect. Ghost felt like Angela was the one who got away, even though he was a man who had everything, the clubs, the wife, the kids, the money and power. Ghost always seemed to go back to the one thing that always got away, and that was Angela Valdez. That ultimately played a part in Ghost's downfall. With Cooper Saxe, it's pretty much the same thing. This is the case that he had. This is the case that was going to put him on the map as a prosecutor. This was the case that would catapult him above Angela, and this is something that he could go back to his family with and say, look at what I've just won. And we were introduced to his family in Power Book 2 Ghost. When we were introduced to his family, it made sense as to why Cooper Saxe's character is how he is and how he acted and behaved on Power. But the ultimate point here to remember is he failed to get the St. Patrick's, and he cannot and will not let that go, because we saw him continue that obsession in Power Book 2 Ghost, and instead of chasing Ghost, he was now chasing after Tariq and continuing to be unethical by using Riley to get information from Tariq, but ultimately he failed once more and then again lost his job. Now this is where it gets interesting for his character, because he's going to be working with Davis McLean in season 2, and they're both unethical as shit. So how will the dynamics of Davis McLean and Cooper Saxe work? Where does he really fit into the world of Ghost after he chased Tommy in the season finale and now thinks Tommy is dead in his eyes? And I'm going to come to it in just a moment after I've spoken about his obsession with Tommy now. now. Just like James St. Patrick and Tariq, Cooper Saxe also had an obsession with Tommy Egan because he was another one that kept slipping through his fingers, who also was back in town in Power Book 2 Ghost, and catching Tommy was what he needed to save his job. Ultimately, he failed once again. He now thinks Tommy Egan is dead, but what if he finds out that Tommy is in fact alive and is out in Chicago roaming free? What is Cooper Saxe going to think, and what is Cooper Saxe going to do then? As I said before, Cooper Saxe is a character who is obsessed with justice. He's heavily invested in the St. Patrick family and Tommy Egan because it's personal for him. The death of Greg Knox, the death of Angela Valdez, who he feels responsible for, who was killed by Tommy Egan. And I've said this before, that Cooper Saxe has effectively had 9 lives on Power. He's been pushing his luck and eventually his time will run out, and this is when his time could be up if he ever crosses over from Power Book 2 Ghost to Power Book 4 Force. And it actually makes sense at some point for his obsession and his storyline when he realizes that Tommy Egan is alive. He'll definitely want to continue what he started in season 1 of Power, and he'll want to catch his man because he failed in catching Ghost, he failed in catching Tariq. Although he is a character that has had 9 lives on the show, I've grown to kind of like his character because he adds that element of obsessiveness, unethical, and a dickface sort of personality to the show as Cooper Saxe. But having said that, if he was to catch wind of Tommy Egan being alive and find out that he's in Chicago, then we could potentially see that crossover and Cooper Saxe chasing Tommy Egan on Power Book 4 Force. He's also never had a win. He's taken a lot of L's with the death of Greg, Angela, Mike, and Donovan. He's also the last man standing of the Felipe Lobos task force. He's been fired from his job twice and also lost both to Ghost and Tariq. So will he finally get his win against Tommy? I definitely don't think so. I personally don't see Saxe in Power ever getting a W, and if that does ever happen, then you have to wonder, does Cooper Saxe have a 10th lifeline? Ghost was never about killing law enforcement, but Tommy on the other hand, if it was up to him, then he would have definitely have dealt with Cooper Saxe a long time ago, especially when they busted through Cooper Saxe's apartment while he was jerking off. If Saxe ever showed his face in Chicago and came face to face with Tommy again, first of all, I would love to see Cooper Saxe's face, because effectively it would be him staring at a ghost. So this is one to keep an eye on, and a potential crossover from Power Book 2 Ghost to Power Book 4 Force, because at some point they could run with this, and whether it be Saxe, Tubit, or someone else, I do think we'll see a crossover at some point. But what about Cooper Saxe killing someone himself? Could we ever see him kill someone and get his hands dirty? I would really love to see it, because effectively he is a criminal himself, but is he willing to go that one step further? If it's life threatening for him, if it's life threatening for someone that he loves, maybe, but he's already been responsible for plenty of deaths on Power already. He spoke about how he was responsible for the death of Maria Suarez. This was because he gave the female witness up to Proctor. He was also pretty much responsible for Proctor's death by forcing him to testify against Tommy Egan. Proctor's wife as well, you could say he was partly to blame for her death, and Angela Valdez, the one who hurt him the most, the one that will continue to haunt him, and the one that will continue to haunt him being able to never nail James St. Patrick as Ghost, nail Tariq as Ghost Killer, and he's definitely going to be pissed that Tommy managed to fake his death and slip from his fingers too. But I really want to know what you guys think. Could this be a possibility? Will Cooper Saxe find out that Tommy Egan is alive and continue his obsessiveness and take it over to Power Book 4 Force at some point? Drop me all your thoughts down below in the comment section about his potential crossover, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Universe related. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.